And then suddenly I have 4 main doctors coming into my room, and they're like, "Hey, are you Jane?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Okay, this is Dr. whatever from the infertility center. This is Dr. whatever from adoption, whatever." And I'm like, "What is going on?" And then suddenly they're telling me that I won't be able to have kids in my life and that I'm gonna be infertile my whole life. I didn't really know what to say during that time. I think I was 19. And I was like, okay, I don't even know what to say, honestly. I didn't even know what to think in that moment. Hi everyone, my name is Jane. I currently live in Sacramento, California, but I grew up in Germany in a big family. I'm number 4 out of 7. Yeah, my family is amazing. I love them. Christian all my life. But I wasn't really walking with the Lord because I didn't know who Jesus was. But I was a very healthy child. I never experienced hospital as a kid. I was pretty active. I loved PE. It was my favorite. I loved running, literally staying active all my life. But when I was about 14, 15, I started to experience pretty bad asthma. It came out of nowhere. It started to be very acute. It came like when trying to run, trying to do activities that I actually always did. And it was very weird for me. Like I started to faint doing just little activities like running, like dancing. I love dancing with my family. We always played Just Dance or anything. And then I had these moments where I just couldn't dance anymore. I couldn't, even singing was very hard for me. I grew up in a very musical family. Everyone is so talented. Like my brothers, they're in worship. My mom, my dad, they've always been singing all their lives. I've been singing with my siblings when we were little. I loved it. Yeah, but then I had like these breathing issues all the time. I couldn't even grasp air for singing. It was very hard. Like I started to get dizzy and I started to experience hospitals literally every week. Well, hospital, that was my second home. I was there all the time. I had PE at school. I would faint. I would sit at school. The humidity was bad that day because Germany tends to be very humid all year round. It's very different to California. California is pretty solid all the time. It's dry, it's nice. Yeah, Germany is pretty humid. And as soon as it hit 30% humidity, I did feel it. I was in the classroom, I was sitting, and suddenly I can't breathe. And I just feel it, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh no, like it's happening again. I'm sitting, I try to concentrate on school, and then I'm just, and I just can't really breathe. And I had teachers, they were mocking me. They didn't believe, they thought I'm just playing because it came so sudden out of nowhere. And I was just sitting there and they didn't want to let me out. And I'm just like, I run out of the classroom. I just ran out, I was like, I don't care. I ran out and I just faint in the middle of the hallway just because I can't breathe. And because it was so new to me, I didn't know how to cope with asthma. Then I started to have all these hospital visits very regularly. Then more health issues started to arise. I had very low iron, which was a big indicator with me fainting too. And my parents didn't really know what to do. They've never experienced something like this before too. Like I had to relearn how to breathe at the hospital all the time, all these breathing exercises with the water and I don't know, it was just so much. And that has been going on for, let's see, it started when I was 14, 15. Now I'm 25. About 10 years. 10 years, yeah. I've experienced this for 10 years, asthma. Wow, that's a long time. Oh my gosh. Yeah, literally humidity, anything, anywhere, it was really bad. Europe is very humid. And we love to go every year with my parents to have our vacation, holidays in Italy, in Spain. My dad was always working hard to afford this for us, for our family. But the humidity is so bad there. And I couldn't go anywhere without my inhalator. I had to go everywhere with it. When I forgot it, my mom would panic. I would panic. And I think my mom was panicking more than I did. And yeah, and then when I was like, we were walking, my mom was like, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? Because we did like pretty long walks, as always. And as soon as it hit like a certain degree, I was like, again, like, and I'm like, okay, where's my inhalator? Where's my inhalator? And that was my life. And I couldn't imagine a life without my inhalator. I remember I had a day where I did forget it and I was panicking and I was trying to stay calm, but I just couldn't because it was so bad. And I just faint and I lay there and I can't breathe. And I'm like, wow, I don't want to live like that all my life. Like I never wanted to be someone on medication all my life. And with that, I also had a lot of different issues. My body started to get different kinds of intolerances for gluten, for lactose. I couldn't really have histamine, like in strawberries, berries. My tongue would like swell up, my lips would swell up. With different kinds of like oat milk, for example, because I couldn't drink regular milk anymore because I would get bloated all the time, and it was just such a big pain when I was bloated, and then my stomach would hurt, and yeah, so many different things, like with gluten, with milk, dairy products, with various kinds of fruits. Then I tried milk substitutes like oat milk, for example, but there was a time where I couldn't even drink oat milk anymore because my throat would just swell up and I wasn't able to breathe. And I was like, wow, now I need my inhalator for this too. It's such, oh my gosh, that was so, what a time, wow. Yeah, so it came to that point where I wasn't really able to eat almost anything. Like, I could eat anything and my stomach would just hurt. I think it got to this point where there wasn't even one product or one meal where I would say, hey, my stomach is not acting up. It was really bad. I was hospitalized sometimes because of really, really, really bad stomach pain, stomach ache. I would be there, they would put whatever on me, give me different kinds of medication so it would stop, have me there overnight or for a week or whatever. And after that, I started to get even more health issues. I started to have PCOS. I was diagnosed with PCOS. I was diagnosed with pre-diabetes. And I was like, what is going on? I was insulin resistant. And this has been going on for years. During that whole journey, my body started to get other health issues. I started to have PCOS. It's full polycystic ovary syndrome. It's when your body grows cysts by the ovaries. And this made me and put me in a lot of pain where I had to be hospitalized once for 2 whole weeks. I just had a doctor's appointment and they were checking on like why I have pain here. And then they were like, okay, let's make an ultrasound and just look what it is. And then they were looking and then suddenly they stop. They take a picture and they're like, we need to send this over to the hospital right now. They sent it over and then they were like, okay, we're making a bed ready. She has to be hospitalized. I'm like, what is going on? I just came here because I have pain. I just want some medication. I don't want hospitals. I can't see hospitals anymore. And suddenly I had to be hospitalized. Same day, same moment. I couldn't even go home. My mom had to bring my clothes and everything. So I am at the hospital, doctors come up, they check on me, and suddenly they say, okay, we were seeing this and this and this. You have this and this and this. And I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. And they were like, yeah, so we need to have you here for at least 1 week on medication every day. If this is not going away after 2 weeks, then you're probably gonna be infertile your whole life. I didn't really know what to say during that time. I think I was 19. And I was like, okay, I don't even know what to say, honestly. I didn't even know what to think in that moment. 1 week passed and I had to go through more ultrasounds to see if there still were cysts on my ovaries or if it was fine for me to go home. And they were still there. They were less though, but they were still there. And they were like, okay, no, we can't leave. They were like, we can't send you home. You have to be here maybe for another week. So I'm there for another week and having another ultrasound, and I still have cysts on my body. And then suddenly I have 4 main doctors coming into my room and they're like, hey, are you Jane? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, okay, this is Dr. whatever from the infertility center. This is Dr. whatever from adoption, whatever. And I'm like, what is going on? And then suddenly they're telling me that I won't be able to have kids in my life. And that I'm gonna be infertile my whole life because 2 weeks have passed and I still have all those cysts. And yeah, I'm diagnosed with something where I can't have kids. And I'm like, during that time, I wasn't with Christ. I knew there is a Jesus, there is everything, but I've never experienced Jesus in my life. But I was sure, I don't know why or where this came from, I was sure I'm gonna have kids in my life and I'm not letting this have a voice over my life. This is where I knew for sure I was steadfast in this. I was like, no, I'm not accepting this. And I was released home, and after some time, my body started to act up again with another issue. My body started to grow tissues outside of the uterus during the menstruation days, during my period. Those tissues that usually have to happen inside the uterus were growing outside, and that was called endometriosis. And this has caused me enormous, crazy pain every month. I couldn't go to school, I couldn't go to college or anything for 3 days at least. I couldn't stand up for 2 days at least. I couldn't walk. I was barely breathing. I was throwing up. As soon as I started to move my body, I was throwing up. because of pain. And I had the worst migraines. I was just on the floor while on crazy pain, while throwing up and then fainting because my body just couldn't handle that. Insane. This was such an insanity. I really remember it so clearly, and my mom just not being able to do anything for me. She didn't know what to do. She was driving me to the hospital. I remember that one time, that second time, that third time, and every month it was just a battle with all these health issues, with asthma, with PCOS, with endometriosis, and my body was just constantly on a fight or flight mode, and I just couldn't relax. May 2022 is when the table started to turn. I decided to fly with my family to California, Sacramento, for my brother's wedding. And this is where the Lord hit me. I never thought I would have such an incredible moment with Jesus like I had here. I went with my family to this random morning prayer, morning worship at KDC here. And this is where the Holy Spirit literally took over me. And I just felt such an incredible hug from the Lord. And like I've never had before. I've never experienced anything like this. Like the love, the peace, that glimpse of freedom that I experienced that day, it was incredible. It was life-changing. That was the moment where I was like, I want more of whatever this is. And literally from that moment, everything started to turn around like 180 degrees. We fly home to Germany and everything feels off. Everything feels off. I'm like, what is going on? Like something is different. That was the first time in my life where I felt relief from a few things. It started with more mental clarity, where I was like, whoa, something's off. And whatever it is, I want more of it. And school in Germany and just the life there, it just felt off for me. And I'm like, I got into my secret place. I've never had this before. I was like, God, whatever this is, I want more of it. I want more of you. I want more of that fire that I experienced, and especially that love that I felt that day, May 2022. By the end of July, I decided to go to KDC, to KD College here in Sacramento, California. It happened very spontaneous. I got accepted. I was so happy. My parents were really happy for me too. And my journey to California started. And that's where my healing journey began. I started KDC, KD College, and I think it was 2 or 3 weeks into school, I had a FaceTime call with my mom, and she was like, hey, so how's the air there? How are you breathing? How's it going? And I'm like, and then it hit me. I'm like, wait, I haven't even used my inhaler once. And I brought 3 into California. And I haven't even used it once. I was like, Mom, you won't believe this, but I have not used it. And she was in shock because back in Germany, I was using the inhaler almost every day, sometimes several times a day. It depended on what day it was, how the pollution was, how the humidity was that day. Was it over 30%? Was it not? Was it too dry? Was there, I don't know, was it dusty? I don't know. So yeah, so I was using it pretty often to breathe. And I was pretty shocked. I think that's the first time where I started to think about it. Okay, hey, how's the pollution in California? And I started to research and actually they said that California is one of the worst, but I feel good. I'm like, what's going on? And I remember it was probably 2 months into school. 2 months into school. One of the leaders, Natasha Mali, she comes up to me in the middle of the worship morning. She comes up to me. She doesn't know anything. And she starts to say, God is telling you're healed, your lungs are opened up, and you will never experience any breathing issues again. And I was like, and I started bawling. I'm like, what is going on? Lord, what? And I just started to speak this healing over my body, that I'm not gonna experience any of the asthma again, like that this healing journey has started for me, and that my body is starting to transform to heal fully. And I was onto healing that time. I was just like, yes, I don't want to have this anymore. I had one time though, where I was flying back to Germany to visit my family. It was February. I went for 1 week home to Germany, and it was very cold. It was wet. It was very European weather. And I remember that day I had to use my inhalator once. Instead of every day, I used it once. And I was just shocked how crazy everything is. Like how God just looks at all those little things and he's like, yeah, let me remove this. I was pretty excited. I remember I was thanking God every day. I'm still thankful every day because that was such a big deal for me. I had to relearn how to be more active again, because after 10 years you get rusty, your lungs just get very sluggish. You have to get back to it. I remember we went to that Yosemite trip with some KDC students. It was a 3-hour hike only up. It was so steep. And I'm like, I have no inhalator with me today. And it was so hard, but we did it. We did it. Yeah, since then, I have never used any of my inhalators again till today. Because I know I'm fully healed, and it's crazy to think to not have asthma anymore. Out of every day to none. It's so good. Wow. Yeah, God is so good. On to the next healing journey. So, very random. I realized that I have no abdominal pain anymore. And like specifically to the PCOS, I had no abdominal pain anymore because you can feel where the cysts are. You can feel them forming, not really forming, you can feel when they're there. And they would hurt, you can feel the process of them. And I just stopped feeling that process. I just stopped feeling like just having those bumps, those lumps of cysts anymore on my ovaries. And that's where I knew that I'm getting fully healed of PCOS. That's where I was like, yes, I knew I'm gonna have kids. I knew I'm not gonna be infertile. That's that. Then on to the next. It was endometriosis. I've experienced endometriosis during almost my whole school year here at KDC. It was very bad. I remember I had days where I couldn't come to special events for KDC. We had people from Bethel coming. We had special speakers coming where I really wanted to be here. But I've experienced very, very insane pain where I couldn't stand up and I was throwing up. And I was like, God, this can't be for real. Like, I can't be having those symptoms still. Like, I really wanted to be off of that too. And I was believing that I'm gonna get healed. I knew I'm gonna be free from it. And as soon as I started to speak that over my life, because everything started from a word. God said a word, and you have the living word. And as soon as I started to speak the word into my life, speaking that healing that happened 2,000 years ago, speaking that the gratefulness that I'm healed, that I'm so thankful that I'm healed, that I have none of these symptoms anymore. I'm not gonna throw up ever again that time of the month. I'm not gonna have that crazy pain anymore. Everything will be regular. I will have regular periods because sometimes I didn't have them for 2 or 3 months, but I would still have that pain because of that extra layer of tissue every month. And I will not faint anymore because that was back then on the cross. That happened there. It's gone. And as soon as I started to speak those things into my life, I started to feel relief. It literally happened 3 months ago. It's very recent, where I don't experience all these crazy symptoms anymore of endometriosis. And that is such a big relief for me and my life and my lifestyle, where I can finally plan things too. Because I had to cancel everything every month. I had to cancel. I had so many missed school days because of that. I really didn't want to. But yes, so that's when my endometriosis healing story began, and where I knew and where I'm just so affirmed in my healing. I know I am healed and I don't experience those crazy symptoms anymore. But that is not all. About 3 months ago, I went to one of our Friday Behold prayers, and I didn't expect much that day. I just remember I came there, I had some stomach issues, but I was like, whatever, it's gonna be fine. Because I've been living with those stomach issues because of all my intolerances, everything that I've been eating, whatever I've been eating, whatnot. I've always had some stomach ache, belly pain, bloating, and whatever. Even I was even throwing up when eating some things. So on that Friday night, they were talking about healing. Some healings were going on. God was doing his work. It was such a good night. And then Olga comes up and she's saying, someone here has allergies. Someone here today, this room, has issues with whatever he or she is eating, some intolerances, dairy, gluten, fruits. When she said dairy, gluten, I was like, yeah. Because there's a lot of people who have like gluten or dairy issues, like intolerances. But when she said fruits, I was like, oh, come on. And I'm like, me? So I get up, I come to the front, and they start to pray for me. And I was like, okay, Holy Spirit, today I really want to receive healing from it. And when they start praying, she had her hand on my stomach. And suddenly I feel such a heat coming when praying, and I feel like something is getting stirred up in my stomach. And I feel this heat rushing into my legs and into my arms. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And I can feel it on my back. And heat. And I understood that's like the Holy Spirit, like it's this fire. The fire is like clearing everything out. And suddenly I feel such a relief, and my stomach is not hurting anymore. And I'm like, wow, what just happened? I get tears in my eyes, and I just feel like the glory is in the room. I just feel it. And I was like, wow, okay, I receive it. Whatever is going on, I receive it. And after that, I was like, God, whatever happened, I take it. And I know I'm gonna get healed fully. Like, I am healed. Not I'm gonna get healed, I am healed. And the next day, the morning, I was like, let me just have oatmeal with some fruits. Berries. Berries are very healthy, but I couldn't eat berries. I still did eat them, but everything just did burn, and I couldn't eat most of it, and bananas, and I just got bloated all the time. And then I made a nice oatmeal with berries, with some yogurt, with banana, and I'm eating and I'm waiting. First 15 minutes, I'm like, yeah, it's normal that nothing happens after 15 minutes. Let me see after 30. And I wait 30 minutes and nothing happens. I'm like, wow, I feel good. I feel really good right now. And I'm like, okay, let me wait 15 more minutes. 45 minutes passed. Nothing happens. And I just realized, wow, God, you're really showing it to me right now. Like, you're being very clear when you say, I'm gonna heal you, I'm gonna heal you. And after that, I started to try out more things. I started to try out. I didn't jump into gluten and dairy and everything because my body is just not used to eating it anymore. So I just did it very slowly. I introduced like more bread, let's say. I had a regular sourdough avocado toast, and I felt good after it. I didn't feel the pain, that rush that was going on in my stomach right away, the bloating. I didn't experience all of that, and I just knew, yeah, it happened. It happened. Of course, I had moments where I wasn't mindfully eating after that, where I was like, oh yeah, I'm healed. Anyways, like I can just eat it. And I was eating something very not mindful. And I'm eating cake and I'm experiencing pain. And I'm like, okay, Jane, but this was your issue now. Like, you shouldn't have stuffed yourself with cake and sweets right now. And being fully healed doesn't mean you can jump onto everything now and have all the unhealthy things that are not good for your body. You still have to be mindful what God gave you and about your healing process. So take everything slowly, but I can finally eat all kinds of fruits. I can have oatmeal again. I can have yogurts again. So I'm very happy about that one. God is so good. And yeah. So all of these health issues like PCOS, gluten, fruits, and dairy intolerances, and the asthma, plus endometriosis, everything that I was experiencing for the past 10 to 12 years, I was healed of in 1 year. And this is only possible because of God, because of what He did 2,000 years ago, and because of the faith that I put into it. When you start to believe in what God did and you just grasp it, what He did back then, this is where your life is starting to transform, because faith is action. The word that you speak out, it's gonna start to become alive in your life, because His word is alive, because He is the word. And when He said it back then, it happened. And so when I started to release this over my life, when other people started to release this over my own life, this is when it started to take action and the healing started to process. I couldn't see some things from one day to another, but I knew that I'm healed, and I was affirming it every day. I was thanking God for what He did in my life every day. And this is literally what has transformed me. All these blessings and everything that was coming through the school, everything through every leader and all my friends, my parents that were praying for me every day. This is all good. This is all amazing, the community. But when you're not the one who's starting to think about it, and when you're not the one speaking it out into your life, who's gonna say it? Who's gonna do it? How is God going to make these things happen for you if you're not taking them? If you're not speaking it out for yourself? Because words have power. You can either curse or bless with your mouth. What are you choosing today? I'm Jane, and this is my story for His glory.